I'm currently the Director of Applications Engineering for Data Artisans, which means that essentially my job is to make people or help people become successful with Flink in production applications. So essentially I just make myself available to the community to try to make sure that they're successful. I was working on the streaming computation team at Twitter. I kind of looking for how to take things push things forward there and kind of work on the next generation of stateful stream processing at Twitter. And a couple things led me to Flink, one of which was probably, the early part of it was probably the Google data flow model and the paper they had written last year. And then looking to sort of materialize those ideas in open source, I came across Apache Flink. And from there, I built some stuff at Twitter with Flink, and then eventually ended up deciding to join Data Artisans to continue to work with Flink. So I'm doing a lot of things essentially, but through collaboration with other people. So as I said, my job is really to work with others. So I'm involved peripherally with a bunch of projects, all of which are doing different things with Flink. So some of it's data analytics, some of it is financial modeling, those kinds of things. But I'm working probably peripherally. I'm involved with several projects. Well, they're not my projects, so it's a little bit difficult to talk about them. Some of them have been talked about here, though. So Netflix is talked here at this conference about how they're trying to provide stream processing as a service to the rest of Netflix via Flink. So building sort of a platform on top of Flink there. And my involvement is simply just sort of making sure that they're making progress, being successful. We try to make sure and support them the best we can. I have meetings over there just to kind of check in on those guys and make sure that everything's moving along. I do the same thing with a couple of other companies. Some aren't as public just yet, so I guess it would be wrong for me to talk about them, but let's see. Other vocal people are, for example, Uber's here. As we speak, they're giving a talk about what they're doing with Flink. It's a very similar sort of thing. Stream processing as a service based on Flink at Twitter. Or sorry, I said Twitter, I meant Uber. Yeah, so general platformatization of Flink in a large company. I think that there's just a ton going on in the project. So there's some pretty big new ideas. The focus has been a lot lately on further enhancing sort of like really hardening the Flink on the production side. And so some of that means better monitoring, logging, those sorts of things. But then also other operational features like supporting very large state, enhanced some of the API enhancements to deal with late data and things like that, but further sort of new capabilities like handling extremely large state in the stream processor and making that state queryable from the outside world is sort of some exciting new features. So a lot of people are interested in that. The other stuff that's going on that's got a lot of developers excited, I think, is dynamic scaling. So that means, in a situation where your load on the system via the data amount, the amount of data you have to process, or the kind of processing you have to do is not constant throughout the day. Flink will be able to scale up and down to meet those demands automatically. And so scale up when there's more work to do, release resources and scale down when there's less work to do, and do all of that automatically, which is pretty exciting, and many people are waiting for that. The other thing is, I guess, deploying Flink in lots of new ways. People want to deploy on Mesos, they wanted to deploy via Docker and Kubernetes, they want to deploy on Yarn. All of these things are getting more native support in Flink. So lots of operational class features that people are excited about. I think one of those things would obviously be, get as involved in the project as you can, and talk about your work. Come to the conferences and present talks, or if you're doing something really interesting with Flink, you should write a blog post. Let us know what you're up to. The others in the Flink community, let's we want to bring more and more people into the community, so we can all benefit from the interesting work that everyone else is doing. And then we can, there's a blog on the Flink website that we sometimes take people's submissions to, just so you have a forum to talk about your interesting work. But then, like I said, conference, explain to people your work with Flink in your own organization to sort of spread the word. Oftentimes, some spearhead project starts in a company, and then when people catch wind of it and see the success people are having with Flink, then the next team wants to try it, and it kind of snowballs from there. So I think just be as public as possible about what you're doing. It's probably the best thing you can do. And get involved in the project. If you've got interesting ideas, maybe you've already built some things, you should see about how you maybe can contribute that work back to the community. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff you can do. Get your hands dirty right away. Figure out, if you want to start playing around with Flink, if you've never done it at all, work through some of the examples. That's a good place to start. It's actually really simple to get started. We've made it as easy as possible to you don't even have to download Flink to start using it. You can actually just create a skeleton project. If you go to flink.apache.org, there's walkthroughs for like a quick start example, it's called. You can start, you can just grab a little script, and that's sort of a skeleton for your first project. And you can just run that in your IDE, and it will automatically download all of the components of Flink that it needs in order to run. You can just run code in your IDE and just start playing around. So don't be afraid to just try it, because you don't have to go and read a ton of stuff and know everything there is to know. You can just, we could be going from zero to running a Flink program on your laptop, for example. 2 minutes from now, we could be up and running with some example. So just jump in there and start to play around. After that, if you find issues or bugs or suggestions for improvement, file a Jira right away. Just get involved in the project immediately. There's no reason to hang back. And then also the mailing lists are a great resource. When you have questions, just post it on the mailing list, and you'll find that the community is extremely responsive and welcoming. So I would say just jump in with both feet and start to, just be a part of the community. Yeah.